Yeah, it's getting pretty wild. Speaking of Kamala Harris, I wanted to quickly react to a few seconds of this Breaking Points clip from this morning. I was wondering, Zach, if you agree with Krystal's analysis here about the state of the race and Kamala specifically. I thought this was interesting.
So I got to tell you though, Saagar, the more that I see Joe Biden, the more ready for Kamala I am. You know how I feel about this woman and all that I've said about her. And I would take Kamala Harris over Joe Biden at this point, just between his age and between his support for Israel, which is like totally in unmovable, unshakable, locked in like 1973. Yes, Kamala Harris like moves with the winds. The winds are blowing against what Joe Biden is doing right now, and yet he will not move because his brain is stuck in, like I said, like 1973. So listen, I'm not saying it's great. I'm saying the bar is on the freaking floor, and if I had a choice between Joe Biden and Kamala Harris at this point, it's not even a question in my mind. I would take.
What do you think about that?
Oh, Krystal, why do you got to put it to me like this? Look, obviously I respect Krystal. I think that there's a fair point that she's making here. I worry about so obviously the downside of Joe Biden is his incompetence, right? He's completely asleep at the wheel. What I worry about is the things that Kamala Harris would use her ability to do, right? I've never ever heard her like the top cop of California. I know it's harder to get more right wing than Joe Biden, but I'm like, I just think that Kamala Harris could also just really quickly become like a huge crusader for Israel. I think that she could really quickly just become like a huge war hawk. I get that vibe from Kamala that, I get the same like in Hillary Clinton energy, and there are a ton of male war hawks. I'm not trying to like be misogynist, but I get the whole we came, we saw, he died. Like it's triumphant or whatever to go kill people. You know what I mean? They go pillage the world, whatever. I'm not making, you know what I'm saying? I'm just,
yeah.
That's the vibe I get from her as a commander-in-chief who has absolutely no experience with that, and certainly doesn't have any experience resisting that. And what do we see to even people like Obama who talk about peace and hope and, win the Nobel Peace Prize before they go kill a bunch of innocent civilians all over the world? Insanity like that. What do you do with the top cop that's already served under Joe Biden? I don't know. I think it's playing with fire to start asking for Kamala Harris. But to me, it could be the devil I know situation, the devil you know versus the devil you don't. I worry that with Kamala, it's even worse. I don't know how it could be even worse. People will say, how could it be even worse? She is competent. What if she starts working with the Kristen Cinemas and starts talking about how we need to really reach Republicans and the rational Republicans, and we need to start what if she starts governing even more like Joe Manchin? At least Joe Biden had some sense of support with solidarity with the unions, right? I worry that we get Kamala Harris. She is absolutely as vicious and brutal and bloodthirsty as Joe Biden, and then on top of that, she's like Silicon Valley prone, doesn't have any solidarity with unions, wants Democrats to get back to embracing disruptor style entrepreneurship. You think that this is the crazy shit I worry about? You worry about the Willow Project. You guys think about what Kamala Harris will do. Also, top cop in America. You think Joe Biden's bad on the police? I mean, I don't know. It's like Joe Biden is 100% maneuvered by the deep state, right? But I just think so would Kamala Harris. And then it's like she's also going to be out here trying to make a name for herself. She's also going to be trying to prove something, I believe, because she has a huge chip on her shoulder, right? And I think that she's going to want to show how tough she is, how much of a leader she is. And I think she's going to, I don't know. I worry about all that because at least Joe Biden's just asleep at the wheel. And right now that means that there has to be some level of stability because right now it's about, just maintaining. I don't know.
What do you think about Krystal's point, though, that it might be easier to sway Kamala Harris? Like she might be a little bit more in tune with or paying attention closer to the internet discourse when it comes to something like Israel. Like Joe Biden is from such a different generation. I don't even think he truly understands the way that the internet connects people and the way that discourse spreads like wildfire now online. Things trend, clips of him go viral. Like he just doesn't understand that. I think Kamala does pay more attention to that kind of thing. And she might potentially be more responsive to activist calls and stuff. I'm not sure. It's definitely reaching, but it's the only possible thing I could kind of see where it's it's kind of impossible to even reach Joe Biden. Unless you're Bernie Sanders, who could call him up from an activist perspective, you're not going to reach him. He doesn't give a he's too old. He's probably asleep by 4:00 p.m. I don't know. But again, that is totally reaching. And it's the only thing I could potentially see Kamala, being an improvement on.
I just worry that she is such an upper crust liberal. You know what I mean? So she's
Totally.
already removed from the kinds of people who are creating uproar about this. You know what I mean? She is already like, she's a wine caver, right? So she probably like will reduce all of this down to like people not understanding foreign policy and like not understanding the necessary evils of keeping the world the way it is, and give this like John Kerry style justification for an abomination like going into Iraq. I think that she's got to be so calloused by now. Look at how the entire internet has already ripped her to shreds constantly. Like, I don't think that she's going to be licking her finger and seeing where the internet's going to make her judgments, because the internet's already kind of abandoned her. She got her like celebratory moment, 4.5 years ago, 5 years ago. Then she had to drop out before her home state. She's gotten tarred and feathered ever since. You know what I mean? People have talked about how she was a bad pick for VP since she got picked to be VP. People have been talking about how Joe Biden didn't like her. People have been talking about all this shit. She's gonna have a massive chip on her shoulder. Look at what I accomplished, guys. We're gonna get like Frank Underwood style political governing from her, dude. I think it's gonna be vendetta politics within the Democratic Party, and I'm scared of that shit.
Interesting. Yeah, the only reason I kind of disagree, and I'm in no way defending Kamala, is that I don't feel like during her tenure as vice president, she's been all that ambitious or that calculating. Like, if she is really that, craven and interested in power, she hasn't really been acting like it. Like, she hasn't really been putting herself out there in a way that would get her positive media attention. Quite the opposite, literally. And you could say she's just incapable of getting positive media coverage because of how unlikable she is. But it doesn't even really seem like she's trying. She avoids the cameras. She doesn't really go out and do a lot of interviews or rallies or anything like that. She kind of just hides. It kind of just seems like she's comfy, having the status of being vice president. But I don't see a ton of like cutthroat ambition.
Bro, how do you
maybe that's happening
the
behind the
top
scenes
of California?
Well,
a
for
senator
sure.
from California.
I'm
the
not
vice
denying
president.
that. I just mean during this tenure, Biden's administration, she's been shockingly not present. Like, usually the vice president is doing things. They're doing photo ops. It just seems like Kamala's hiding in the shadows. And it's probably because they are telling her to, stay in hiding because she fumbles the ball. But I don't know, bro. She doesn't really act as ambitious as I would have expected. She doesn't really seem like she's positioning herself to be like the next standard bearer. Of kind of seems like she's giving that lane over to Gavin Newsom without much resistance whatsoever, which is weird because she did seem to have that sort of ambition during the actual primary, at least the beginning of it, when she went after Joe Biden in that first debate. But you know what I'm saying, Zach? That kind of energy from the first debate where it was like, oh shit, like she's taking names, she's cutting throats, she's gonna get where she has to be. It kind of seems like now that she is vice president, she's just gotten sort of complacent. She doesn't have any political agenda. She has no vision for the country. Like, if you ask someone like, what policies does Kamala Harris champion? I don't know. She's just a Democrat. She just whatever Joe Biden
that's
wants.
Part of the job of being vice president, though. Like, you lay in wait until you have the opportunity. So I think it's just that laying in the wait, and then the killer instinct comes out, and that's honestly what makes me more afraid, right? Like, for a second, imagine if like what was his name, Mike Pence. Imagine if he had gotten the sticks at the wheel, man. He was quiet and cold and calculating. But if you had given that guy the presidency, a flip is getting switched in the back of his lizard brain, and it's all out war. Evangelism, bro. You know what I'm saying? I think Kamala has that button that will get pressed if she's president, but it will be the most deranged Silicon Valley liberalism we've ever seen in our lives.
Let's take a look here. This is the clip that everyone's been making fun of. I wanted to, make a point about it. One of the many super cringy moments from Kamala Harris.
She's got the dude. It's the reptile, Brian, dude. I'm waiting for the switch to get turned on, and then oh my god, then it's all like, I am all powerful, like all of my because I agree that she does have a little bit of that, self-doubt, but I just think getting the sticks to the nuclear football, dude.
But yeah, Fuzzy Slippers, I'm convinced she's drunk all the time. Honestly, if I want to put on my, political strategist hat and give Kamala some advice, I would tell her to lean into the whole like wine mom kind of vibe that she does give up give off in some of these clips. Like there's this instinct from politicians to, always double down on seriousness and, being the most important figure that garners the most gravitas and all this stuff. Like I actually think Kamala is at her most likable when she's kind of leaning into this and when it just seems like she's a normal woman who's dishing on, her opinions and politics and stuff. Whenever she's trying to be on script, whenever she's trying to sound like a serious politician or a leader, that's when she fails. That's when she gets really insecure and she up and completely fails to be telegenic or, whatever. I think that the one angle she could kind of work is the likable, San Francisco wine mom kind of thing. Again, not that I give a shit. I hate this woman. I think her politics are that of Satan. But, that is like the one silver lining that I could maybe see her spinning into something that could be like, likable to voters.